the identification of great business is not that difficult. What is the most difficult is not doing anything after you find yourself in the fortunate position of ownership of these businesses. So I think that, multi-baggers can come in number of shapes and sizes. The most obvious ones can be technology business, right? So now the issue with technology businesses is that, like Buffett says, industries with rapid change are the enemy of the investor. So we would need to find tech businesses which have kind of got attributes like, for example, a Microsoft, which has a very strong install base of cloud-based applications and such and software, which people cannot do without and people cannot change easily and such. And we would need to find those businesses at reasonable valuations. So usually the problem we get into with these great software companies is everyone knows they're great and the prices reflect the greatness. But sometimes you can get aberrations. You can get, like, one of the things that happens is that when a packaged software company is switching to the cloud, so the revenue is going from licenses being sold to a recurring subscription-based model, the revenue will take a dip initially because as they're transitioning, if Microsoft sold Microsoft Office as a package, they would collect like $500 or $400 one shot for one user. When they do it through a cloud-based offering, they get like, $8 or $10 a month. And so near term, your revenue will drop. But long term, you do a lot better because people may not, after 4 years, buy another package for you. They may run the same Word software for 10 years without upgrade, for example. So sometimes you can get a mispricing because the market doesn't appreciate this particular nuance of, the earnings taking a dip temporarily and such, and it's not being normalized earning and so on. So you can get great compounders from the classic, very stable recurring revenue software businesses or cloud-based businesses and so on. That can be a valid way to go. You can also get it from companies that are really, really good at what they do. Like Costco in the United States would be an example. Walmart might be an example. So these are companies in really difficult spaces. Retail is a really, really difficult space to be in. But sometimes you get some businesses that are really great at it, and they're proven they can endure for a long time. Then it can work out very well. One other thing about these multi-bagger compounders, if we go back to the example of Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, is, like I said, he put 4% of his portfolio, which later became 50%. I think Titan compounded at more than 30% a year for a long time. And it has a great model. It'll keep going. I think that runway is really long. It tolerates a very high error rate because let's take an example that the other 96% of Rakesh's portfolio went to zero. If that had happened, he would still have a major home run. So if we make these compounder bets, and let's say we put 10% of portfolio into each bet, and we study these businesses carefully, and we make 10 of these bets like NVR, AutoZone, and whatever. The most important thing, which is the most difficult for investors, is after that, you need to go to sleep. So after making the bet, because nothing will go in a straight line, there will be news coming out all the time, invasions into Ukraine, and there's the inflation in the US, and the Fed is raising rates, and the business might take a hiccup here and there or whatever else. So there's 100 different reasons for which one might be tempted to take action. And to Rakesh's credit, considering that he had like 4 screens in front of him all day long, he never touched the Titan position for several decades, died with it. So the important thing in investing is not how smart you are. This is not a game of like the highest IQ person wins. Because it's not that difficult to figure out. If you gave me, or if I gave you a list of the top 100 market cap companies in Thailand, and I just ask you to rank them in terms of quality of business. Forget the valuation, forget everything, just quality of business. And I'll ask, 50 students to do that. Their list wouldn't be that different. What companies show up in the top 10 might be very similar. Top 20 might be very similar. Bottom 20% might be very similar, and so on. So the identification of a great business is not that difficult. What is the most difficult is not doing anything after you find yourself in the fortunate position of ownership of these businesses. So taking Rakesh's example, if you made 10 bets and you just said, okay, no matter what the news is, I'm just going to ignore everything. And in some cases, the news dictates that you should actually sell. The business has gone into secular decline, for example, and you can tell it's going. But let's say you take no action. You live with the secular declines, see some of them go to zero, all of that. It would still be an exceptional run at the end of 20 or 30 years.
As Mohnish Pabrai explained in this video, finding a multibagger is not the hard part, but holding on to it is. True multibagger returns takes years and sometimes decades to fully play out. Take an example of Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. He bought Titan Industries in early 2000s. He kept his stock throughout his life, and after his death, his family continues to own the stock. His one decision completely changed his life. He didn't become rich, he became wealthy. When he died, his net worth was $6 billion. The multibagger lesson is simple. It needs immense patience, courage, and ability to hold on when others can't. If you learned something new today, please do leave a like. We would highly appreciate it.